leadership is a big theme, Ben, that you've kind of touched on a few times. I know you've done a good bit of research into leadership. Leadership for me is potentially one of those buzz themes: leadership, teamwork, work ethic. You know, that those are the big kind of rocks that do transfer very well. How do you see leadership? How important is it in terms of transferring into the afterlife? We would have called it when we were playing, because it was out of our consciousness. How do you see leadership transferring into retirement?
Yeah, it's interesting, because I've been fortunate enough to do a tiny bit of work in football as well, and when I think of the people that I've seen and worked or been in environments with across the sports, some of them are there are some common themes. I was lucky enough to be at Chelsea during Mourinho's first stint, and I was on a trip with him away, him and Essien and a few other guys. We were in Ghana in 2007, and I at the time I was still playing rugby, although it was coming to the end, and I'd broken my thumb, and I was in a cast, and it was bothering me, but it was okay. It was my right hand, so I was only able to use my left hand, and I was coordinating. I was in charge of this trip, so I was coordinating everything. I was, and Jose and the guys, we were outside at this function, and they'd all gone to sit down in this restaurant, and his table was around the corner, and I'd made sure everybody had eaten first and gone up, and it was this, when you go up, it was a place where you had the buffet, so you have the metal lids, and you have to take the lid off, and then you normally serve yourself. But I only had the one hand. And Jose and all the other delegates from Ghana had gone to sit down about 5 minutes before. And I thought, okay, everybody's sorted. I'm going to have something to eat now. So I'll quickly, do this, but obviously trying to do stuff with one hand. And I started doing it. I took the first lid off, the first tin, put it down. Then I got my plate. Then I got there, put my plate down. Then I go to get the spoon, to then serve myself some rice. And I sent somebody over my left shoulder, and I eventually I look around, and it's Jose, and he's got come up from around the other side of the table. He's seen me, and he's not done trying to make a big scene or anything, but he said, "Oh, can I serve your food for you?" And I was like, "Oh, no, I'm fine," as I was struggling with one hand, battling away. But it was really interesting for me. And then after that, I was like, it was this humility that not everybody sees, and but it was genuine. It wasn't for an audience. There was no audience, and I wasn't important in the big scheme of things. So it wasn't, and that really made a big impression on me. And I've heard of other stories of other people similar, and I've come across a couple of people who are similar in rugby, but not loads, to be honest with you, who have that same authenticity and genuine humility. And then when I started scratching the surface, you'd find out with Jose, you'd go to Goodison Park and he'd be on first name terms with the tea lady there and stuff like this. Nobody sees this stuff, And so it was, now if you think about how he then got 11 players on the field, he could do all the tactical stuff, the technical stuff with his team. And he had a brilliant way of doing that with the tactical periodization model. And he was a very, very good coach. But when you think about how he, the first day he arrived at Stamford Bridge, in the very first press conference, he was asked, "Are you going to sign X, Y, and Z from, these teams and from Portugal and he said, "No, why would I do that? I've already got the best central midfielder in the world here. I've got the best central defender here." And he made the guys, if you can make people feel like they're 8'8" and can do anything, and invincible, it's an amazingly powerful thing. And so when I saw that, and as an example of leadership, that's a tool, that's a very high standard to live up to. And obviously you can comment on some of the things he's done in other environments, or he's done since, or he's done publicly. But all I can speak of is how I found him. And I've had I don't know what he's like now, but I think he's evolved as a person and as a coach, and he's probably more guarded in some ways. But that was genuine, and I think that's been a good example for me in one area of what leadership should look like, and that human element